Word girls. I just wanted to share a few things that I feel like God has really shown me about my own heart. I've shared a lot of my journey, especially recently, about just, hungering for Him and thirsting for Him and I need to lay down and what things am I running to and why. And there's just been this confusion. Like I can see it, but I couldn't see it. And like I knew something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And I would use word like, distractedness or busy or chasing information and knowledge. And I mean, those were the symptoms. That's kind of what I do, but I couldn't figure out why. And I'm still not 100% sure why, though I think He's exposing the root ever so gently. But yesterday, He was stirring in my heart, and I was reading a bunch of things, and I was going back and forth because I was seeing things about my personality that were, in part they're good, but then they can be turned around, to bad. And so I'm like, well, what is you? What is me? What's okay? What's not okay? And so I was just really confused and crying out to Him and spent a lot of time in His Word and worshiping. And I read something that somebody else had written, and it doesn't matter necessarily, her context was different, but what popped off the page to me was the word restless and a striving heart. And it just, like I said, it just popped off the page. And I have been through much healing and deliverance in the area of performance and perfectionism and drivenness and in all of that area. So it was confusing to me, like there's still this chunk left. And but restless is like a perfect way to describe what it feels like. Just this restlessness in my heart that I always got to be doing something or chasing something. And then I felt like He was showing me, and like I said, this part is still a little unclear, but He's showing me how I still don't see Him and His love as enough, or I'm not enough somehow. And so I was like, Lord, help me discern, help me divide what's good and bad. And so I'm like, oh, I know there's a verse in Hebrews 4 about that. And so I go looking for that verse, and I open up my Bible, and it falls on the title of that section, and it says the promise of rest. And I just put my head down and started crying, because just the thought of the rest from the crazy, the chasing, and, I feel like 90% of me is okay. Like I'm walking in my calling. I'm confident in my calling. I'm thrilled with where I'm at in life. I see how blessed I am. There's all of that. Yet there's this underlying current that I know I'm not completely free in something. And I haven't settled it all in my head. And I don't know that we'll ever walk in complete freedom on this side of heaven. But when there's just something not right and you're willing and you want to follow God, but there's just something underneath, and that's what this feels like, this restlessness, and so the thought of rest, and I didn't even go and read the chapter yet. I just sat there and cried, and so as I started reading it, I'm just going to share some verses that popped off to me, and I would suggest Hebrews 4. There's just so much good stuff, and I love reading it in the Amplified, because just the way they define the words, but just maybe you'll see what I'm talking about here. Back up to Hebrews 3, verse 12. Take care lest there be any one of you with an unbelieving heart, which refuses to cleave to, trust in, and rely on Him, leading you to turn away and desert and stand aloof from the living God. That was pretty convicting when I read that. Harden not your hearts. Verse 19 in chapter 3 says, so we see that they were not able to enter into His rest because of their unwillingness to adhere to and rely on God. And it just made me think, what areas am I unwilling to cling to Him and rely on Him and to hold fast to Him? What areas do I still need to do and make happen, because that's what makes me feel good about myself. Hebrews 4:2. It was not mixed with faith, the leaning of their entire personality on God, and absolute trust and confidence in His power, His wisdom, and His goodness. Verse 10, he who has entered God's rest has ceased from the weariness and pain of human labors. Verse 11, let us therefore be zealous and exert ourselves and strive diligently to enter that rest of God, to know and experience it for ourselves. And here's the verse I was going for, verse 12. God's word is alive, full of power, able to discern and divide between the soul and the spirit, exposing, sifting, and analyzing and judging the very thoughts and purposes and intentions of the heart. And that's what I need him to do right now, ladies, is to take his word and divide what is me and what is him, to show me what my intentions, the true intentions of my heart. And I feel like he's doing this. It's just like playing out in my head. It's so cool. And then it just kind of comes to this great apex in verse 16. So, about hardening not your hearts and entering into the rest, and, be zealous in his word. And then it says, let us then fearlessly and confidently and boldly draw near to the throne of grace, that we might receive mercy for our failures and find grace to help in good time for every need. And isn't that just so amazing and comforting, ladies, that, after all of this, after exposing my heart, after showing me these areas ever so little bit, it kind of ends with, but then you know what, Michelle, come fearlessly and confident to me. I've got mercy that covers all of that yuck that would cause you to shrink back and stand aloof from me, and I'll give you grace to overcome it. So I'm feeling pretty raw, pretty emotional, but filled with hope. And there's just something about having a diagnosis when I was really sick and we didn't know what was wrong with me, and we're just chasing down doctor after doctor. I felt like the woman with the issue of blood. I suffered much at the hands of many doctors, and and we never fully got a full diagnosis because so much of it was spiritual. And again, another cool story. But when you get a diagnosis, like when you got a sore throat, when you just have a sore throat and you don't know what it is, you just kind of suffer through the sore throat, right? But when you find out you have strep throat, you can take an antibiotic if you choose, so it's like, I didn't know I didn't have a name for it. I needed a name for it. And I kept saying yesterday afternoon, I don't know what it is. It's there, but I don't know. And I feel like when he showed me those words, restless, striving heart, and then showed me maybe a little picture of why I do that, why I chase after these things that keep me busy, because it makes me feel good instead of being able to rely and completely fall on him. And oh gosh, there was a sentence that was so good too that, I'm not going to be able to find it, but maybe I will see if I can find it and share it. But anyway, I guess it just feels good to have a diagnosis, and to know that I can go to him he's full of mercy for us, ladies. So I just encourage you to just keep going, keep digging, keep pressing in, keep pulling back. There's no way I could have, gotten to this place, I don't think, with God, had I not pulled back on the things that I chase after. And like I said, I'm going to share what I feel like he's calling me to do, starting March 1st, a 40-day time alone with God, and what that's going to look like. And I still haven't worked out all the details because there's so many details in my mind. Well, what about this? What about that? And, like I said, we can't just run away to a cave for 40 days. So, but I'm looking forward to, for 40 days, being hidden away in the cleft of the rock with the rock. And so I just encourage you, ladies, to keep seeking him and let him expose and uncover your heart, because we want total healing. We want complete freedom. I'm not content just to muddle by and make it on 80, 90%. I want him to have my whole heart. And I've not been living wholeheartedly. So let's keep digging. Let's keep laying down the stuff that keeps us distracted and from him, and let's just keep pressing in, whether it feels good or not, whether it feels rich or not. It didn't feel real rich yesterday. It was feeling pretty raw and confusing, and I persevered, and by last night, he was really speaking to my heart and making things clear. All right? So there you go. There's my heart on a platter for you, and what he's dealing with me right now. And I hope you are finding him just as faithful. All right? Have a fantastic day, ladies.